Read by from all parties, and it's good for students in Chico and beyond, and also beneficial for students who continue to be victimized by the campfire. Thanks for your time.
I have a question. Mr. Gronstaff, sir, I have a question. Do you think that there is a solution out there that could be satisfying to all parties?
Well, as we talked about, the lawyers that you talked about hadn't really come up with a final conclusion. Was that accurate that I heard? That we're still discussing?
They were pretty clear in their opinion. We've asked them to put it in writing.
I think it'd be really good for all parties to talk together, because I don't think they did before these options came up.
Speaking for yourself as a member of the foundation board, I'm going to ask you a question, but I'm going to start asking more Inspire leaders. How would you feel about being at another campus, an older campus, an existing facility within Chico Unified School District, as opposed to a brand new one in the Canyon View location?
I'm just going to hold on. I'm just going to pause, just let you know that you do not have to answer the question.
On the grounds that it may
you can
incriminate
think
me?
on it. Yeah, no, well, I mean, it's a public forum, and you can think
Right.
on it and respond later.
I think you need to really take a serious look and investigate that. I have gone to a couple of other campuses and looked around with those things in mind. And, I think there are possibilities there. I think the entire thing should be discussed, probably between the board here and Inspire, and have things shared around. I do think that school districts have a lot more options than we're hearing right now. And I think I'd like those to come up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we go on to our next speaker, I just want to let the board and our community know that the live stream is down. We had a computer crash. Are we back up, Patrick? Okay, I'll take that back.
It was the dancing. The dancing broke it.
It broke the internet.
You broke the internet. All right, we're going to move on to Ruby Patchell, followed by Rose Kropelka.
Hello, my name is Ruby Patchell, and I'm currently a long-term sub at Inspire. I have also worked at Chico High, Marsh, and Chico Junior here at Chico Unified. We have gathered here to talk about the funding for Inspire and their need for a new campus, and I want to share my story, which represents one of the many reasons why Inspire should have their own space. A content warning: there is mention of suicidal ideation. I started at Inspire in August of 2011 for both Inspire and my second year of high school. I had moved to Chico 2 months before the first day of school, and I was depressed and anxious and self-conscious and friendless. And while I think most teenagers starting at a new high school feel the same, there was something else I was dealing with. My mom signed me up for Inspire, and I was hesitant. I was worried because it was small that I would stand out and that friend groups would already be formed and that I would be alone. So I told my mom if my first semester at Inspire didn't work out, it was fine. I would transfer to another school. What I didn't tell her was that if my first semester didn't work out, then I wasn't going to go to school at all. I wasn't going to be alive anymore. In the year and a half before I joined Inspire, my life was in turmoil. And it had led me to a place where I didn't want to live. So starting at a new school was truly the last thing that I wanted to do. Fortunately, as proven by my presence here tonight, my first semester at Inspire was better than I ever could have hoped or imagined. I don't say this lightly. Inspire saved me. I found friends and mentors and an advisor. Before Becky Brown was principal, she was my English teacher and my advisor. She is someone even now I can go to for advice and reassurance. I found hobbies that later I turned into a college degree, that I turned into a career. I have gone from an Inspire student to an Inspire educator. Inspire is a school made up of students from all over Butte County. It doesn't just serve Chico, but kids from all over the county looking for a place where they can belong. It's comprised of some of the kindest, most caring, talented, and funny teenagers I have ever had the pleasure to know. I am a firm believer that we don't deserve things, we earn them. And over the last 13 years, Inspire has earned a new campus, a place they can call their own. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Ruby. Rose Krapelka, and then followed by Brian Boyer.
Good evening. I had a whole, actually I did bullet points this time so that I wouldn't go over on time. And I had to change a bunch of them after the surprises that were given to us tonight, which seems to be a practice of this situation where things aren't discussed with the Inspire staff or anything prior to what we can expect. So I'll hone in on the items that actually are relatable now. I want to start out with the simple fact that the district does have a legal obligation to provide facilities for Inspire. I think we all know that. I think we have to keep saying it because it seems like the money part of the deal, as far as the loan or wherever it comes from, seems to be acting like the Inspire is being given a favor. Inspire is not being given a favor. They're actually asking to pay for themselves. They just need to find the funding for a limited amount of time. This is a great deal for Chico Unified, and the reason why is the whole $27 million project is paid by Inspire. Yes, we have a $10 million shortfall, but the state, if we don't do this now, the state grant of $8 million will go away. And so I can't see that by moving to another facility within the district, which I don't think is a bad idea, but the problem is of the timing of the $8 million. We're back to that, back against the wall as far as how long it takes to submit all the processes and approvals. By allowing Inspire to utilize some funds temporarily, it would not be pulling money out of the resources for the other schools for Chico Unified because you're going to get it back. The other options that we had, and again was a surprise when we attended the meeting back in, I believe it was March, about the Hooker Oak, those have been voted down. So if we don't have a school to go to and time to make the plans, that option is off the table. We can't wait for that unless we want to just, I'll say, give away the $8 million to the state. We're hopeful that at this time, you guys can come up with an option 3, something that would work as a win-win for both parties. I don't think Fremont Street yet, it will be new. It's utilizing old portables. It's not, brick and mortar. It's using half of the buildings that they already have. And it isn't that we want a shiny new campus. We want a campus that we can be proud of and a place for, as you see, the children and ex-Inspire students to belong. We do know on the upcoming bond, if you choose to pursue that option, then we'll be right there and we'll help you pass it like we have in the past. So I really want to let you know the time is now. And please make the consideration of not postponing and fixing things or coming up with creative ideas. And I do agree the charter committee could be a start. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate all of you. And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Ms. Kropelka, I have a question. Thank you for coming here tonight and for giving us your perspective. I want you to know, before I ask you my question, that I have had conversations today with Chico Unified staff, Jacqueline Kruger, and I have been assured that if we were to make a decision in the next month or two, that there is still time to put Inspire at Hooker Oak, if we wanted to do that, okay?
That is a
How
good
would
statement.
you,
Yeah.
as the foundation chair, a highly placed leader within Inspire, what would you think about Inspire being at the Hooker Oak campus?
I would not be opposed. I think that would be a solution.
Okay, well, you are one vote away up here from that being a reality, and I'll just leave you with that.
Thank you.
While we're waiting for the next speaker, one thing that Rose said was that, quote, "You need to come up with a third option," but I want to revise that to we. Yes, thank you. We need to come up with the best viable option for everybody. All right, Brian Boyer, you're up next, followed by Joni Dunlap on behalf of the Gibson family.
So there's some of this still left that I'm going to share. I chew through some of it as well. Good evening. I'm Brian Boyer. I'm speaking to you as okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I'm speaking to you in my capacity as a member of the Board of Directors for Inspire School of Arts and Sciences. First, I'd like to acknowledge and express my appreciation for the many acts of generosity and goodwill on the part of this board to support Inspire's effort to relocate off the Chico High campus, starting with your willingness to allow us to build on the Fremont site, to your most recent decision to provide, I don't know how to call this anymore, it's not financing, but provide a creative solution to finalize the move. As you know, as Rose pointed out, California law, Prop 39, requires that Chico Unified provide facilities for the 300 Inspire students that live within the Chico Unified School District. Regardless, with the use of charter school facility grant funds and creative solutions through CUSD, Inspire is poised to pay the entire cost of moving to Fremont Street. Tonight, you'll consider two creative options. I'm concerned, however, because these options are presented in a divisive fashion. Inspire is first pitted against Chico elementary schools. Then Inspire is pitted against Chico charter schools. The takeaway from this characterization is that Inspire, and a win for Inspire is a loss for somebody else. That's a scarcity mentality. We need an abundance mentality. There's enough for everybody. The timing might be different, but there's enough for everybody. Also, I think it's important to bear in mind the interest of Chico High. In order for Chico High and the district to reach their facility goals, Inspire needs to relocate off the Chico High School campus. That's a point that's been made. And so, in closing, I feel the need to highlight the fact that at no point during the process of developing any of these options, neither Inspire nor any member of the charter community were consulted. So now, we find ourselves in a position of having to cobble together coherent input using these 3-minute sound bites. This lack of inclusion, collaboration, and transparency is not the message we want to take forward to the greater Chico community as we ask them to trust us with their money to meet the needs of all of Chico's students. Thank you.
Mr. Boyer, sir? How would you feel about Inspire being located on the Hooker Oak or a different existing Chico Unified campus?
Well, I'm still stung from the, what was it, a mass tumor analogy. I'm not smiling. And so I don't want to speak for the board, and so I'm not going to, I know that when we were willing to open ourselves to that conversation, when that was one of the possibilities that was on the table. And so I would imagine the board would be open to be a part of that conversation, but I can't speak for them specifically.
Thanks.
Next up, we have Joni Dunlap on behalf of the Gibson family, followed by Becky Brown.
First, thank you for this opportunity. I'm Joni Dunlap, and I'm a parent of an Inspire graduate and a current senior, and I'm also a past member of the Inspire School Board. I echo all of the comments that others have already shared this evening. On top of my own family's experiences, I believe that there are very important community and regional reasons to build a new campus or relocate Inspire off the Chico High campus. Therefore, I ask the board to support funding options for the Inspire, I'm going to say Fremont Street project, just because that's how I've come to refer to it in my own head. Specifically, the move to a new campus on Fremont Street or somewhere else has the potential to enhance the learning environment. It becomes a purpose-built campus designed to provide students with facilities that can greatly enhance the quality of education offered by providing specialized studios, theaters, rehearsal spaces, and science and engineering laboratories. Inspire's move from the Chico High campus has been pointed out already, also enhances the learning environment for Chico High, because they will be able to reclaim the physical campus space and further develop their own programs. It also has the potential to increase attraction. Businesses and families moving into the area are looking for access to high-quality educational opportunities. A new campus can attract students from within the community and beyond. For example, one of Inspire's specialties, as we witnessed this evening, is performing arts, which can draw students with a passion for music, dance, theater, and other artistic disciplines from all over the county and all over the region. Enhancing the high school opportunities in Chico by having Inspire at Fremont Street and expanding Chico High's campus can also have positive economic impact on Chico, because it may attract people from outside of the immediate service area. It also has the potential to improve morale. Having a modern and well-equipped campus can boost the morale of teachers and staff, as well as students and their families and the surrounding communities. Again, moving Inspire to Fremont Street enhances the morale of both high school communities and attracts other skilled educators to those communities. Finally, it also has the potential for positive messaging. Investing in a new campus demonstrates the school board's and the community's commitment to this unique and inclusive high school's long-term success. It signals to students, educators, parents, the community, and local businesses that educational opportunities for diverse student groups are valued. In addition, this project may attract attention from other educational opportunities, granting bodies, and potential partners interested in collaborating on and supporting other projects of interest to the school board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Becky Brown, followed by Tony Fierro.
I'm going to try to be coherent because my speech went out the window with these revelations. I'm also going to apologize in advance because I'm elevated. I heard mention that you haven't had enough time to put together options or to explore them. Well, we've been asking for help since September of 2021 when we learned of the $10 million shortfall. And getting to the table has been very, very difficult. We are asking you for a loan. We are not asking for a handout. As the lovely Rose said, we don't want you to pay for this project. We want to pay for it. And we are asking you for that loan, not asking our charter colleagues for that loan because it is not their responsibility. It is the district's responsibility to provide adequate housing for our 300 in-district students. You, the district, also stand to gain from the removal of Inspire, the tumor, from the Chico High campus. That's why we're asking you for this loan. We have a tough decision, and we've been here month after month after month, and I've asked our community to come month after month after month, and they have, and thank you. So we have to make a decision very shortly here, whether we want to take the few Measure K dollars we have left after the $730,000 that we spent for Fremont Street planning, and take advantage of some state funding and make some minimal upgrades and chip away at those 30-year-old portables. Or I think it's totally reasonable to wait until the next bond measure is passed. I think that's very reasonable. We could wait for that, and we could ask that the district pull some funds from their allocation, not from the charter allocations, because we simply wouldn't take that deal. So if Inspire is estimated to receive $5 to $6 million, that would only leave $4 million or $5 million from a district allocation that would be paid back later. And so it would not be, let's not pit charter against charter or district against charter, but understand that we have to work together to take advantage of these state funds, give Inspire a campus, and let us move off the Chico High campus. I actually am very grateful to the district and grateful to this board for all that you've given us and for these creative solutions that you've proposed. And I'm grateful for the opportunity for our students to receive this education in civics. And I hope that they have the opportunity to see leaders
I'm waiting for her to
making
finish the
decisions with
Very
wisdom
long sentence.
and transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. You're fine. It was my space.
Caitlin, am I able to ask her a quick question? Becky, could I ask you a quick question? I don't know if you want to come back up or not. You had mentioned that the $10 million assessment, that was back in 2021. And something that I keep coming back to is the fact that that was now over 2 years ago, looking closer to 3, and with the obvious, changes, cost of living, or I should say changes in construction prices that we all see. I mean, have you checked back in to get a more accurate estimate of the shortfall?
We've talked to the brilliant Julie Kissel about this, and Julie, this was actually sort of the height of the pandemic, costs going through the roof, and Julie actually thinks that that number is probably still pretty accurate.
Becky, you are a highly placed Inspire leader. I put a question to other board members, and now I'm going to put it to you. How would you feel if Inspire were to be given a different, already existing, older Chico Unified property, such as Hooker Oak?
I still think that if I speak on this, the takeaway for our community is going to be Inspire gets something at the cost of district schools. And that's just not a road that I think that we should go down. I don't want Inspire to get something because other charters lose something. I don't want Inspire to get something that a district school doesn't get. You are all in these roles because you have to make really hard decisions, and closing a school is one of the most horrific things that a school board can consider. So that means I'm not answering.
That's a thoughtful answer. Thank you. If you talk about wanting, we want a solution where no one has to give something up. Well, we know that's not realistic. right? What
I
if a
actually
school-
don't think that's true. So in my mind, and I'm not like, I just want to be with kids in classrooms and with teachers. I'm not like a money mastermind, but you have, so if you put out a bond in 2024, and you're still working on the money from Measure K, you're still working on the money from the last bond.
Right.
I don't believe that any of your elementary schools are going to suffer much from you having to delay spending $5 million while that, I mean, I know Julie works really efficiently, but I don't believe that you're going to have elementary schools with windows falling out if you have to delay that 5 million or 4 million until a subsequent bond comes out, if that makes sense. And you can't really do much with 5 million.
It's not, we're actually moving our money. The Chico Unified money is moving. It's the charter process that the money's not moving as quickly. I don't know that that's any fault of theirs, but
Well, you have quite a bit left in Measure K.
how much do we have in Measure K?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we are building McManus Elementary, which is using the Series C money for that.
So if that bond doesn't pass, you know, I'm sure you're
Then
aware.
we're screwed. We are all screwed. The charters are screwed, the district is screwed. But I believe we're going to pass that bond, because if this board is making wise decisions, you can bet the charters, we have highly engaged communities. We are going to band together. I mean, look at these people. They've been here night after night after night. They're going to show up. They're going to make phone calls. They're going to get the bond passed. And it's to the benefit of everyone in the district.
But the only way that bond passage would give you what you want, according to our attorneys, is if it was to scoop off the top from someone $10 million and gift it to Inspire.
So the next bond, I believe you could write any way you want to write. Is that my understanding?
For clarification, the 15.34% that is clearly delineated for charter schools is for Measure K that the community passed in 2016. We haven't written the bond. I mean, we haven't even approved to go forward with a bond, let alone write the bond or ballot language for that bond yet. So that's completely up in the air, hasn't been decided at all.
So we could have theoretically 3 recipients, so to speak. You could have the guts of the school district, and then you could have the charter community generally, and then you could have a special carve-out for Inspire.
Which would be repaid.
What's that?
Which would be repaid down the road.
I mean, I don't know how you write bonds. You know, maybe that's true. If it didn't pass, or if that was a political liability of some kind that prevented it from passing, you know, the Inspire bond, then that could be bad. You know, your terminology was on point. It'd be a bad situation for Chico Unified schools like Chapman and Rosedale and Parkview and Sierra View. And I mean, we've all toured those facilities and seen the condition that they're in. You know, so somebody is, I mean, this is public education, and I'm amazed at the way money flows into this institution. It's impressive. But you just don't have a crystal ball. And is it wise for us to sit up here and assume passage of the next school bond at the expense potentially of, you know, our little kids in those falling apart elementary schools?
I think what I proposed is probably the least painful of the options that we've talked about. It doesn't involve closing a school. It doesn't involve carving out a piece from the charters that would be inequitable. It doesn't involve projects that have been prioritized or planned by the district that would somehow, you know, not be achieved. They might be delayed for a bit. But again, $4 to $5 million is not going to be as painful as some of the other options that we've talked about.
Just so I'm clear, what you're suggesting, though, if I understand correct, is in violation of, no, okay.
No, it is not. Because we're talking about a future bond and that language has not been written yet.
Thanks.
Hey, Becky. I don't have any questions. That's what I really appreciate. I know this is a hard and emotional topic, and I appreciate that you let us know that you were elevated and you kept it together, and you've been very wise in your responses. I just appreciate you and your partnership in this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
All right, speaking up next is Tony Fierro.
Good evening. Thank you for the time. I am the extremely proud father of 3 exceptionally talented, intelligent, and beautiful daughters, who one of them has already graduated from Inspire, and the other 2 are current students. I continue to be amazed by this small but mighty school and what they're able to accomplish, what they've able to really provide for myself and my family to help me lift my children, lift my daughters up so that they have the best, opportunities in their lives going forward based on the experiences that they're having right now at Inspire. I think one of the main things I wanted to think about was that what could this school do if they actually had proper facilities and a place of their own based on their track record of what they do now. I work at Chico State, and I see just dozens of familiar faces of students who have graduated from Inspire that are now at Chico, and I know my oldest daughter is now at Long Beach, and a lot of her friends have gone to other universities here in California. And so maybe the better analogy, I appreciate the point maybe, or the thought that was trying to be expressed. I imagine almost everyone in this room has gone hiking in Upper Bidwell and have had the opportunity to see those, towers of rocks that just look amazing, and you wonder how someone could do that. It takes intelligence, ingenuity, technical ability, creativity, so many skill sets to be able to create that little magic tower of rocks. And to be able to, maybe what we're trying to do is pick up that little tower and move it to another place, not necessarily a tumor that needs to be removed, but something that's magical, that's precious, that we are now trying to give it its own spot so that it can continue to, do more and more for not just my children, but everyone in the community. So I think that was my role here tonight, just to speak. I was asked yesterday or the day before to, voice my opinions, and really I just wanted to impress upon, and I have so much respect for the roles that you guys play up on the stage here, because this is very important work that you have to face, and I appreciate that. But I think my role was just as a parent to say how much the school has meant to me and my family, and really most people in this room. And I really hope that we collectively come up with the best choice, the best solution for everyone. Thank you.
All right, that was the end of our speaker list. And so we can move to a motion, board discussion.
May I, excuse me, may I make some discussion before we have a motion on the floor? Is that?
I think that you could ask questions of clarification from staff or members of the audience.
Yeah, but that's so frustrating because I'm not really asking clarification. I just want to get my thinking out straight by saying it out loud. But I will ask a question actually while I've got the mic. How much is left in the district's, and you guys got to hit me for this question, in our general fund reserve?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Fair enough. Do we have any sort of a even vague ballpark? And I'm, yeah, do we have anything vague, or do you want to just wait until next time?
I can get back to the
Okay.
board on the reserve
That's fair.
piece.
Thank you very much. 'Cause I don't remember how much it is either. I ask because, not because I think we need to put, so the worry is that no matter how you slice it, the money has to come from somewhere. And while I really, really appreciate Becky speaking from a place of hope, and I agree, I think there's room for everybody to grow and get better at this. The money has to come somewhere, and some students will have something less, right? I mean, there is a finite amount of money in the process, even if they are really large numbers. That said, I want to pose a slightly different analogy, which is something like, say, an egg, all right? You guys have been in the nest at Chico High for a long time now. It's clearly time to go see what you are when you're somewhere else. And I really encourage, how do I put this? I know it often seems like there's not enough communication between the district and charters. I hear that. A lot of the time it's because we're getting new information just before you guys get it. So I don't want you guys to think that we're purposely playing games. That's certainly not the goal. Everybody up here understands. I think it's fair. We can all agree Inspire is an amazing school. It is a great service to the community. We want it to succeed, all right? So I understand that we will have some upcoming talks with charter leaders in the near future. I hope that as the district leadership goes into those talks, we can look really carefully at where we might be able to take some money out of our side in the short term. Because I think in the long view, we will benefit from having another high school campus in Chico, I think. I mean, the reason we cited that location a long time ago was because we thought we wanted to eventually. I know our numbers aren't quite where we want them to be in terms of population to really merit that. But on the other hand, the whole reason I opposed and continue to oppose shutting down Hooker Oak, which is a terrible idea for the record, is that I have a strong belief that small schools with strong communities are the best places for kids to learn. So in closing down Hooker Oak, we would have just had the same problem, where we have a small community that maybe they have more space than they technically need, according to some metrics, but it's their home, and they've made it their own. And we do need to find a way to get Inspire to be able to do the same thing. And if that is going to take some money out of any of Chico Unified's projects in the short term, I think that's probably worth it. We just need to figure out. I think the tricky piece is, right, this repayment. What does that look like? How do we write it into a bond in a way that both makes sense and is legal and passes the smell test to the voters, right? And that's going to be a tricky road to hoe, and we really appreciate all of you and your commitment to getting a bond passed, because we need everybody to get it done. It's not a popular thing to do right now, to go out and ask the public for more money. I really want to make a motion, but I also want to yield to my colleagues here, who I'm sure have lots of things to say. But I think the smart move, honestly, without kicking the can too far, is to wait until we have those discussions with the charter leaders, where we go in with a spirit of, yeah, we're going to have to take some hits on our side of the budget as well to get this done. Because long-term, Chico Unified will end up owning a high school that we didn't, at basically a bargain price. For whatever happens in the future, that will be there to serve students in Chico in the future.
I'm going to make a motion to take no action on these options at this time and direct staff to engage with the charter community and bring back additional options for hypothetical bond language at the September regular meeting.
Seconded.
Okay, now we can fully discuss.
Mr. Lando, I'm sensing some optimism from you that that there's a financial solution that can get Inspire the $10 million that they need to push them over the threshold where they can build this Canyon View property. When I talk to Chico Unified staff, I do not get that sense of optimism. Okay, I mean, I have heard I mean, unless we're talking about writing the bond in such a way that there's a huge carve-out or a designation directly for Inspire, maybe that's just what we're talking about. Aside from that, I'm not saying, no one's brought to my attention, in spite of my hours of conversations about it, some like ready solution where that money's gonna just magically appear and they're gonna be able to do it. Do you have any more specific thoughts as to how that might come about? Or are you inclined to think that we will be potentially writing the bond with language specifically, awarding this money to Inspire?
Well, yeah, one of my first notes was the same thing you brought up, that making the Fremont campus a separate line item in the bond is not a terrible idea. But even if that's not the option we choose, we have a huge amount of latitude in how we write the bond. Like we said, we're looking at maybe 250 million-ish if we go for the next amount we can in the bond. And I know this is all before we get to the bond itself, so it's a little hard to talk about it. We have to be careful with that. But again, we could do a carve-out. We could do some kind of other formula where more of that is weighted towards the district, with the understanding that we do get value out of that later on. I mean, the money is there, or maybe there if we pass the bond. It's not there right now. The question is, where do we think the most value is, both now and in the future? I think that's the thing that we're not talking about enough, is long-term, 10, 20 years, 30 years down the road, we can take maybe a chunk of what we would think of as ours in the next bond, which is not ours, right? It's all Chico Unified. But we can decide what allocation that goes. If it's ADA and we get 15.34% again for charter, or if we do something completely different. But we could write that 1,000 different ways in which we end up with one separate account that has the money to build Fremont Street. It's just a question of where's that money coming from and what isn't happening because of it, right?
And maybe just a point about political viability, but thank you for your response.
Yeah, I want to add to that, Tom, that, sorry, Mr. Lando, that I do know your name and I know how to pronounce it and everything. That my concern, and what will be helpful for me to have a very clear picture painted if we pass this motion by that September regular meeting, is to be reassured that, with the caveat that we do go out for this hypothetical bond and it passes, that, what was our third in line elementary? Did it end up being Chapman? Parkview. That Parkview doesn't get knocked off the sooner than later to-do list. I don't want Parkview to not be addressed until after 2030, if we pass another hypothetical 2030 bond, for example. That's where and I know that that's uncomfortable because we're talking about pitting an elementary school against Inspire, and I love Inspire, I truly do. But that's our fiscal oversight as a board, is weighing those caveats, I guess. So it would be beneficial to understand those minor, where those lines fall. And I really feel like having an in-person conversation where everybody's just putting it on the table, all the charters included, and just really have this conversation about school needs in Chico. From that conversation, we should see this come into a better focus. I just think that we did get out ahead of it, so, yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I've said enough tonight, I think.
Thank you, Madam President. One of the things that, having been around for a while, has given me is perspective and a process. Having been involved with the beginning of the facilities master plans, I've been able to see what goes into evaluating and assessing school facility needs in this district. My responsibility as a board member is to do the best we can to maintain support for Chico Unified School plans. I think our last, when we last updated the facilities master plan, I think we had identified, I think, 300 million needs that are unmet out there in our schools. And we all heard Rosedale, we've been there. Chapman, Parkview, we've got needs at Citrus that need to be met, Fairview. The needs are huge. And we have kicked the can down the road and have left those sites untouched well beyond what we first committed to. Is there an answer? There are answers, and there is a process moving forward. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves, because in order to make a decision about what to do about maintaining our commitment to the schools we've already said we're going to treat to next, we have to have the facilities master plan before the board in September and ready for examination and approval. I would not feel comfortable bringing into that discussion where are we going to get money for Inspire. Again, cart before the horse. We have to be able, I have to be able, as a board member for Chico Unified, to be able to take a look at the commitments we've made and the needs that we have out there for our Chico Unified plants. And the conditions are horrible. And that's impacting on a daily basis the education that our elementary kids, because of the 3 schools that we've already committed to, on a daily basis. Yes, I understand Inspire's need. I was one of the people involved in wanting to get Inspire at Chapman. I've been around that long. I'm that darn old. So I know that the commitment that the families around Inspire made are part of what has made it an amazing school. And they do treat to what the young lady that was an Inspire student originally treat to. They save lives. And they also put students on a path to soar with their love of whatever their interest is, math, science, dance, theater arts. It's an amazing school. But we're back to what is our fiduciary responsibility to the K-12 students of Chico Unified. And we've let those needs go unmet because of financial constraints for too long. Yes, I want discussions. and a look at what could be done, as long as it doesn't interfere with the commitment we've made to the 3 elementary schools that are now at the top of the list, to Citrus and Fairview. And I don't think bringing it back in September is a wise thing. We're not ready yet. We need the facilities master plan before us and approved, and then work on what we are allowed to have in the way of constraints on how much of a bond we can go out for, and take a look at the reality of what we can do. Right now, we're speculating, and that's not good. I'm done.
Is September, the regular board meeting for September, is that enough time to have those conversations? I'm just hearing what you're saying, and you're saying that you don't think that that's enough time.
So,
Well, we are scheduled to bring the facilities master plan.
At the board workshop?
Board workshop, September. And the bond, looking at the steps, because there's lots of steps involved in making a decision about the bond. Canvassing the community, all of that stuff. So we're gearing up for some things, and so I just think September's too soon.
and I do want to add in there, I mean, it is a process, and we will need to hire consultants to go through that process. I don't think that by September 6th, we'll be ready to be doing language. The board will actually need to make the decision to go forward with the bond and then follow the bond advisor's process in that. But that does not mean that we can't have some conversations about, when we get to that point, what would potential language look like. We just won't be ready to say, this is the language in the bond at that. I mean, we're 2 weeks away.
So my question was about the regular September board meeting. Would that need to come back as like an informational item on what's being discussed as any potential additional options that are discussed with the charters?
Sure,
schools?
we can do that. Yeah, I just don't think we want to, we've already gotten ourselves out in front of the process. I don't think we want to continue to do that. And we need to have those conversations with our bond consultants about what exactly is that process, because I certainly don't know.
Yeah, and I also want to add that even if something is a discussion action item, that doesn't mean that we have to take action. It just gives us the option to take action, just like tonight's meeting for the most part. Sometimes it's nice to have that flexibility to hone in on a final decision. We can cross something off the list of options, for example. Any other comments on the motion on the floor?
Just one
Yes.
for clarity.
Yes.
So you're discussing bringing this back at the September 20 meeting, the regular meeting?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't look up the date, but that's why I said the regular meeting, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would give us 2 weeks after the workshop in which we look at the bond and the facilities plan? Yes, thank you.
Is the decision for the board, is that coming to us to actually go out for the bond? Is that on our workshop, September workshop agenda?
I don't know the answer to that. That, it
Depends.
continues with the bond advisory.
Okay. Not the particular language, but just yes, we're actually doing this, because we're out ahead of that vote also right now. That's why I've referred to it as a hypothetical bond, because we've not actually taken action on approving that yet.
Mr. Orlando, just to clarify, so your motion is obviously
My
Caitlin.
motion,
Okay, sorry. To delay, meet with the charter schools and gather information and basically assess to see how they're feeling about.
These and potential additional options.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it in theory, but just, it's optimistic. I feel like, everybody probably doesn't have the same information we do, but just with the input we've received from the other charter schools, it seems like it would involve a complete change of a opinion.
Yeah, I think that the charter schools were very blindsided by all of this. I don't think that there was an opportunity to have a really purposeful, meaningful discussion with those folks. And that coming out of some of this engagement that I'm asking for, perhaps there would be some understanding, which has come from discussions I've had with charter folks. Just having that one-on-one conversation about, where these ideas are coming from, have been met positively. So I am optimistic.
Madam President? I want to just remind all of us that one of the reasons why it seems as though we don't really know what the heck we're doing and where we're headed, it's because if you remember, we're bound by the laws that say that only two of us can meet on a subject. So we can't have side conversations that involve more than two members of the board. So when we get here, you're seeing our first attempt at finding solutions in some areas. So it's not that we don't take it seriously, it's just that we can't violate the Brown Act. You're seeing and hearing stuff new, the same as we are.
Yeah, I actually did want to make that point earlier also, because it does seem like it takes a really long time, but I mean, this last 8 months compounded into 3 meetings that we've really had discussions about how to get Inspire to Fremont Street that's it. This is what you see, the 3 hours of those 3 meetings, pretty much. So in between, I strongly always encourage staff, like from Inspire, to reach out to district staff appropriately. That would be beneficial to everybody. If you have concerns, please reach out to the district staff. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. But we can't talk to each other about those things. And it gets tricky when we're talking about the things not in this meeting space. I would like to, did you have something more to add?
Briefly, I'm going to be voting to abstain because I don't want to kick the can down the road, and I think that Inspire should move to an existing Chico Unified facility.
So just vote no. Okay. I'm going to do a voice vote. Yeah, actually, can we?
A chance to restate?
Yes, that's what I was just going to ask for.
Thank
Can we have a restatement of the motion, please? That's on record. You're able to hear that? Okay. All right, we're going to do individual votes. So Dalby, aye.
Robinson, aye.
Conk and I.
Lando, aye.
Tennis abstain.
All right. It passes 4-0 with 1 abstain. With that, that's the end of that item, and I'm going to actually ask for a break.